Hello again. Good afternoon. Well, we've done what we've had in mind for a long time. We brought you up to my beloved vantage point above the town. Bakewell we can see down in the valley there with all its various aspects. And up here we've just climbed up the hill and here we are. I first came up here as a boy of 12, 70 years ago, and I've loved it ever since. It was here that I first, I suppose, fell in love with space. I don't suppose I could have expressed it then. Just experience this expansion into greatness. Experience this don't fence me in feeling, which is really, I suppose in one phrase, sums up my whole life. I wouldn't mind having it put on my gravestone. Don't fence me in. That's this man in a nutshell. Don't fence me in. And up here is as near as anywhere to getting that feeling. You probably can't tell, but my eyes are resting on the far, far horizon. There's hill upon hill upon hill, range upon range, fading into the distance. On a day like this, it's a bit hazy. Quite often in this area, we get what my artist dad used to call Derbyshire blue. There's a sort of bluishness to the distant hills, which fades beautifully into the sky. Yes, I love just resting my eyes on a distant horizon like this. I don't really know, I suppose this is a mantra, really. It certainly seems to have the same effect, probably even more effective than a spoken mantra inside oneself. It immediately brings the mind to rest. Somehow it seems symbolic that the little towns down in the valley there with all its thoughts and interaction between people, which usually results in complexity. Whereas up here it all seems utterly simple. I love that it's sheep in the distance there. You can hear the sound of lambs crying. Typical sound of the English hills, isn't it? I think that's why I've always loved sheep, because they're associated with places like this. Clean, uncomplicated creatures. They, like me, they get fretful when they get brought down and confined. The sheep's instinct is always to go uphill. Like me, you could say. Open the door and I'm out of it. Don't fence me in. Well, that's a bit of meandering around my own point of view, but let me come back to some of your questions. I got two more questions from your comments, again, which are not dissimilar. One is, how do we free ourselves from the ego? And the other is referring to the story of the prodigal son, in the Bible, how do we return? Well, at the moment they seem rather similar questions. Let me remind you of the ego. It's I as a separate entity with its adjectives, me and mine. So whenever we hear our voice saying I, me or mine, that is the ego. What if someone asks you what do you like and you say I like bread and jam or something, or what about me when you're being left out of a party, that's the ego. Anything that differentiates you from the whole. How do we free ourselves? Well, I wouldn't venture to say that you ever can free yourself from it completely, because if you consider your body, this thing sitting here, this in a way is crystallised ego, isn't it? If you think of ego as a sort of mental, the mental idea, which then sort of, just like rain comes down from the sky and forms water, and the water freezes into ice, well, the body, this fleshly body, is the sort of frozen effect of the mental ego. That's why it's separate. That's why I've got my body here and Phil's body's over there. And this body, because it's separated from the whole, which is God, is going to die because it's cut off. And this is the effect of the ego. It separates us from the whole. How do we free ourselves of it? Well, I can't, because we've got this ego until we die. But what we can do is this. You can gradually become less attached to it, like that. I've still got it, but I'm not so obsessed by it. It isn't the whole scene. Just the same effect is achieved when you come to a big place like this. You just melt into the vastness of the sky and the scenery, and for the time being you forget about your own body. It's just sitting on the bench here or walking, and more or less looks after itself. So, to all intents and purposes, at the moment I'm free of it. And so is anybody that comes up here. And you can usually tell by when you meet walkers along the way, they're usually cheerful. That means they've usually forgotten about their troubles. Puts most people in a good mood when they come out for a walk in the hills. There you are. That's how to free yourself from it. Insofar as we can, because of course you can't really, realistically. That's why we are in this world, because we've got an ego. Otherwise we'd be an angel up in heaven or something, wouldn't we, without any problems. We wouldn't have to put up with this weary old flesh, even though when we're young we think it's marvellous, all young and beautiful, and want to take photographs of it and send it around, but when you're old you're not so keen on all that. You rather want to hide it away. And it's the young people that take their clothes off and show off their marvellous bodies. When you get old like me, you're a bit shy about doing that. You feel better with your clothes on. Anyway, that's so the other question was, how do we return? Prodigal son. Well, the story is that the prodigal son went off into a far. He said to his father, "I want my inheritance," which he took off to a far country, where he wasted it all, and then experienced poverty. And he thought, "Am I doing here in such a mess? Why can't I just go home where everything was okay?" Well, he started walking. He came to his senses. In other words, he came into the present. when you come into the present, as I keep telling you, you get a sense of this stillness. Stillness expands into this space. Even if you're not sitting on top of a hill like this, you can feel this space in a room. You close your eyes, you can embrace the whole world. Spaciousness. Well, what's this spaciousness? Where? So yesterday I think I was saying silence, space, peace, freedom, spirit. Where does one end and the other begin? What's this great space that enfolds us? It's been here ever since I was 12 years old. And before that, a while ago, there was a Neolithic, an ancient prehistoric settlement here. You can see the old stones just there of the ramparts. So there have been people sitting up here for a long time, probably thinking much the same thoughts. Looking out over this marvellous view. How does the prodigal son come home? Common sense, I expect, is as good an answer as any. Or perhaps Phil will just show you this view again on the camera and then you'll see it for yourself. You don't need my words. And then, well, first of all we see the view, and then we can, as it were, melt into it. Instead of sitting here talking, I can just shut up and just melt into the vastness of what surrounds me. And then maybe you'll pick it up on this video also. And sense the freedom. Which is not only here, but everywhere. When I learned to meditate when I was 26 years old, as a young man, I was freshly home from South America. I'd already travelled in Australia, South America. I'd seen a lot of great open spaces by then, up in the mountains and the deserts, and of course the open sea. I thought I knew a lot about space, freedom. And when I started to meditate, the very first time I was sitting in a big railway station waiting room in London late at night, waiting to catch the train home. And I did my first meditation practice there, and it all opened up within me. And I realized I didn't need to travel the world to find this space I loved. It was all within myself. And I've been going there ever since. God bless you, dears. Until tomorrow.